Have you ever noticed something strange? Ask 10 people this simple question. Can men and women really be just friends? You'll probably get 10 completely different answers. Some people will tell you, of course they can. My best friend is the opposite sex. Others will laugh and say, just wait. Someone always catches feelings, so who's right? Is friendship between men and women completely normal? Or is romance almost inevitable? Today, we're going beyond opinions. We'll look at psychology, biology, relationship science, and the surprising reason why so many friendships either survive for decades or suddenly transform into something neither person expected. Because the answer isn't simply yes, and it isn't simply no. It's much more interesting. Let's begin with the two extreme positions. The first group believes attraction makes true friendship impossible. Their arguments sound simple. Two people spend enough time together, share emotional moments, support each other, and genuinely enjoy one another's company. Eventually someone will want something more, according to this view. Friendship is simply romance waiting for the right moment. The second group believes attraction doesn't matter. Adults have self-control. They can recognize feelings without acting on them. Just because you're capable of falling in love doesn't mean you have to. Both arguments sound convincing, strangely. Both contain pieces of the truth. Imagine this situation. A man and woman become friends at work. They eat lunch together, help each other through difficult times, celebrate promotions, share personal stories. Years pass, nothing romantic happens then. One day, they get married. Stories like this happen all the time. So people naturally ask, were they really friends? Or was romance hiding beneath the surface all along? Psychologists have been studying this question for decades, and what they've discovered is fascinating. Let's first examine the strongest argument for yes. Yes, men and women absolutely can be friends. But friendship between them requires something many people never learn: emotional skill. Think back to childhood, long before anyone experienced romantic love. They were already learning how relationships work. Some children grow up with parents who respond consistently. They're scared. Someone comforts them when they fail. Someone encourages them. Over time, their brain learns something important. Closeness is safe. Emotions can be managed. Connection doesn't require possession. But not everyone grows up this way. Some people learn that affection disappears unexpectedly. Others learn love only arrives when they perform well. Some learn vulnerability gets ignored. These early experiences become relationship templates that quietly guide adult friendships. Which brings us to emotional regulation. Many people think love is something that simply happens to them, like catching a cold. One day you're friends, the next day you're in love. But psychologists describe love differently. Love begins as an emotional experience. Emotions are real, powerful, sometimes overwhelming, but emotions are not commands. Feeling attraction doesn't automatically mean you should confess it. It doesn't mean the friendship is doomed. And it certainly doesn't mean the feeling will last forever. Research on emotional regulation consistently shows that emotions rise, peak, and naturally decline if we don't constantly feed them. Imagine a campfire. A small spark isn't dangerous, but if you keep throwing wood onto it, it becomes impossible to control. Attraction works similarly. Constant fantasy. Imagining a future together. Reading hidden meanings into every smile. Comparing everyone else to them. These behaviors strengthen emotional attachment. On the other hand, acknowledging the feeling without feeding it often allows it to fade. This isn't emotional suppression. Suppression means pretending emotions don't exist. Regulation means noticing them, accepting them, choosing your behavior anyway. That's emotional maturity. Something else surprises many people. Love doesn't survive on feelings alone. It survives on investment. Psychologists often distinguish between different neurochemicals involved in relationships. Early attraction is strongly linked with dopamine, novelty, excitement, anticipation. It's the thrill of uncertainty. But long-term relationships rely much more heavily on systems involving oxytocin and shared attachment, trust, reliability, mutual investment. This means attraction alone doesn't create lasting love. Relationships require continuous choices. And friendships don't automatically become romances simply because attraction exists without investment. Many crushes disappear as quietly as they arrived. Boundaries also matter more than people realize. Healthy friendships usually develop invisible rules. Avoid emotionally exclusive behavior. Respect existing relationships. Don't create unnecessary ambiguity. Be careful with situations that weaken judgment. A call, for example, lowers self-control and increases impulsive decision-making. Many friendships have changed after one night that neither person originally planned. Another surprisingly effective strategy? Include romantic partners socially. When everyone knows everyone, hidden emotional triangles become much less likely. Transparency builds trust. Secrecy creates fantasy. Interestingly, some researchers found that attraction inside friendships often feels less exciting and more like a burden because it threatens something valuable that already exists. In one study, participants described potential romantic benefits as relatively small compared with the possible cost of losing an important friendship. One analysis even suggested roughly 6% perceived benefit compared to about 32% perceived social and emotional cost. Now let's consider the opposite argument, because there really is risk. One of the biggest surprises in relationship research is how many romantic relationships actually begin as friendships. A large body of research suggests that friends-to-lovers is one of the most common pathways into long-term relationships. Several studies, around 70% of couples reported they were friends before becoming romantic partners. On average, many spent close to 22 months as friends before dating. That's almost 2 years. Which means friendship isn't always separate from romance. Sometimes it's the foundation. But why? Think about modern dating. Meeting someone through an app often feels like a job interview. First impressions? Carefully chosen photos, small talk, constant evaluation. People are trying to appear attractive before they've built trust. Friendship works differently. You already know how the other person handles stress, whether they're honest, whether they're kind to strangers, whether they keep promises, whether your values actually match. It's uncertainty. The biggest obstacle in dating has already been reduced. Instead of wondering who this person really is, you already know. That's why friendships sometimes transition so naturally into relationships. Not because friendship secretly was romance, but because friendship removed uncertainty. Now we arrive at one of the most controversial explanations. Evolutionary psychology proposes something called error management theory. The basic idea is surprisingly simple. Throughout human history, men and women faced different reproductive risks. For ancestral men, missing a potential mating opportunity could mean losing reproductive success. For ancestral women, mistakenly choosing the wrong partner carried much greater costs. Pregnancy, childcare, limited resources. As a result, evolution may have favored different biases. Men became slightly more likely to overestimate romantic interest. Women became somewhat more likely to underestimate it. Notice something important. These are statistical tendencies, not universal rules. It's not every man. It's not every woman. But enough of a pattern that researchers repeatedly observe it. This helps explain something many people have experienced. One person thinks they're definitely flirting. The other says, "I'm literally just being friendly." Neither person is necessarily lying. Their brains may genuinely interpret the exact same interaction differently. Researchers have even found evidence supporting these prediction patterns. Some men perceive hidden romantic signals where none were intended. Some women overlook genuine romantic interest until it's made very explicit. It's why people joke about the friend zone, or, less commonly discussed, the girlfriend zone, where someone assumes emotional closeness automatically means romantic potential. These misunderstandings aren't always manipulation. Sometimes they're perceptions. So, can friendship become love? Absolutely. But here's what many people misunderstand. You cannot force the transition. Friendship alone doesn't create attraction. Time alone doesn't create attraction. Being nice alone doesn't create attraction. Mutual attraction still matters. Compatibility still matters. Timing still matters. The healthiest relationships emerge when friendship and attraction grow together. Not when one person waits for years hoping kindness will eventually be rewarded. Which brings us to perhaps the most practical lesson. Stop trying to earn love through investment. Many people believe, if I help enough, listen enough, give enough, eventually they'll choose me. But attraction rarely works like a reward system. Instead, focus on becoming someone attractive. Develop confidence, purpose, communication skills, emotional stability, a meaningful life. People are naturally drawn toward individuals who already have direction. Self-improvement creates opportunities. Neediness creates pressure. If romance develops from friendship, wonderful. If it doesn't, you still become a stronger version of yourself. That's a victory either way. So, can men and women really be friends? Yes. Millions already are. Can those friendships become romance? Also yes. Many of the strongest relationships begin exactly that way. The real question isn't whether attraction is possible. Of course it is. The real question is whether both people possess the emotional maturity to recognize feelings, communicate honestly, respect boundaries, accept whatever outcome naturally follows, because friendship doesn't fail when attraction appears. It fails when attraction replaces respect. Perhaps that's why the healthiest friendships aren't built on pretending feelings never exist. They're built on something much stronger. Trust, choice, and the understanding that real connection isn't about possessing another person. It's about appreciating who they are, whether they become your lifelong friend or eventually the love of your life. If you enjoyed this documentary and want more psychology-backed videos that separate myths from reality, subscribe to the channel. And tell us in the comments, do you believe men and women can truly be just friends? Or does attraction always change things? Your perspective might be the start of the next discussion.